Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Little Nas X has been honored by Variety, not to mention in association with Amazon, as an Innovator of the Year. I'm not making that up. Obviously, this guy is no innovator at all, at least not in the sense that we would actually use. Innovate means to do something in a new way. That's the linguistic roots of the word, novus, or new. There's nothing new about Little Nas X. His flamboyant idiocy is not new at all. From RuPaul all the way back to Dennis Rodman, you've had tons of black men willing to run around in dresses to get attention from the white media. So that's not new. However, there is a secondary definition to innovate. It's an antiquated definition, but it seems to be what these phony white media outlets mean. And that secondary definition is to make changes in anything established. What constitutes the image of the black man, the masculinity of the black man, that's been well established and well feared by white supremacy. But here comes Little Nas X to make changes to that. Now, when I see someone referring to a black LGBT person as being an innovator simply because they're LGBT, I immediately think of the first time that I saw anyone do that. It was Byron Allen's LGBT advocacy website, The Griot. They posted an article back in June 2018 to celebrate Gay Pride Month, and in it they were basically congratulating black LGBT people for being LGBT. That was pretty much the gist of it. And I remember this clearly because while I fully expected a bunch of outrageous and asinine platitudes to be heaped on the piece, I found it beyond belief that in the second sentence of this article, the author wrote, "The Griot turns our focus to today's black groundbreakers and innovators." Now, that's just ridiculous on its face. There's nothing new about any of these people. Some of them, like Charles Blow, have been around for 20 years. It's exactly like how the white media keeps talking about the new black civil rights leaders, the new black press, people who have been around forever and ain't got a dang thing accomplished, and who are anything but new. These people have not made a ripple, much less a change. None of the people who the Griot had profiled have innovated anything. They haven't changed anything. They haven't broken any new ground. And in many, if not most of their cases, they've done what they can to run away from blackness and to prioritize that they are LGBT first. But the Griot doesn't talk about that. Now, at Variety's little awards luncheon, and you know how I feel whenever you got black folks being associated with a luncheon, you had some nobody named Chloe Bailey who presented Little Nas X with this so-called honor, saying,
"He has embodied the spirit of courage while also representing the culture authentically and beautifully."
There's quite a bit to unpack there, but I'm not going to waste too much time on it. First of all, to say that Little Nas X is courageous, to associate his name with courage, there's a lot of words I could use to describe Little Nas X. Obnoxious, asinine, attention whoring, clout chasing. Courage wouldn't be a word that I ever ascribed to him. And talking about representing the culture authentically and beautifully, I do agree with that, but whose culture? Not black culture. But this heifer has the nerve to say he represents the culture authentically. Nah, he may be representing LGBT culture, and I think that he actually does. That's what he represents. Certainly that, if you take a look at what happens at the local Pride Parade, Little Nas X certainly is right in line with that. But if you take a look at what's going on with the black folks who are in the street, the black folks at street level, the grassroots, Little Nas X has nothing in common with them. Because black folks are not running around trying to do all sorts of stuff that they think is going to get attention or trying to win the news cycle. So yeah, as far as the culture goes, you make sure you get specific about what culture it is that he's authentically representing. Because it ain't black folks' culture, it's LGBT culture. So why the world are they talking about this at an awards ceremony that's supposed to be for black folks? It's so ridiculous to be heaping praise on this guy because it's obvious that you're doing way too much. Oh, the kids have someone they can look up to. This is somebody who the kids can look at. If you feel like you're being marginalized or ostracized, this guy, he can make you feel more included. Really? Is there any kid out there at all who thinks to themselves, you know, when I grow up, this is what I want to be? Is there any kid out there who aspires to be this? By the way, this is not a picture that I doctored. This is one of Variety's pictures. The guy literally looks like a clown. What child of any variety aspires to be this when they grow up? And courage indeed. As Dr. Frances Cress Welsing spent her entire life explaining, white supremacy's driving phobia is a fear of genetic annihilation. Black people reproducing is the threat. When some white supremacist murders a black person and then claims, "I was threatened," all the other white supremacists immediately understand that it was the reproductive ability of that black person that was the threat. You want to see courageous? Look at a straight black man or a straight black woman, either of whom who want to create children with other black people. The white supremacists know that they will create more black babies, which faces white supremacy with the threat of genetic annihilation.
He's kicked in the door, breaking down barriers while delivering unforgettable music and visuals.
But this Chloe person says that Lil Nas X kicked in the door. What door? When? What did he do that we haven't seen or heard before? Have there been no gay black men in music before now? Come on, give me a break. We can give you the freaking rundown. Everybody from Johnny Mathis to Babyface Edmonds to Luther Vandross to Frank Ocean. There is absolutely nothing new about Lil Nas X running around saying that he's gay. He hasn't planted any flags. This guy hasn't made any history. He hasn't kicked open any doors. Doors were already open decades before he showed up by people who actually had talent. Now, what is different is the fact that this guy decides he's going to be doing his open-air smut shows. Now, that is different, but not in a good way.
Breaking down barriers while delivering unforgettable music and visuals.
He's delivered unforgettable music and visuals, she says. Well, at least that part is true. It's hard to forget the trauma of seeing this clown doing his puke-worthy stage shows. And as for his music, I defy anyone to name 3 songs of his. If it wasn't for his open-air sex shows and all of that raunchy crap that he does for the white media cameras, nobody would even know who this chump was. He is the male equivalent of a Cardi B or any of these other skanks that you see running around in their drawers, doing the most lurid, most garish, most immoral stuff that they can, long as they got the white media giving them some coverage, because in their twisted minds, the only bad media attention is no media attention at all. And then just to show that even they know that all of this is just a bunch of needless hot air.
It's positive proof that if people can see it and hear it, the world can become a more accepting place. Nas is proving it because he exists.
This Chloe woman goes on to say the world can become a more accepting place, and Nas proves this just by the fact he exists. We'll talk about taking the bar and putting it on the ground. This is the same thing that the black Bootlicks told us about Barack Obama and now Kamala Harris. These mixed-race politicians don't have to do anything for black people. Why? They've done enough already just by being born. And that's the same well that they're drawing from here. Oh, don't you go put no pressure on Lil Nas X now. Don't go telling him that he needs to be speaking for black issues and sticking up for black folks, mind you. Oh, don't you be doing that. Don't go making any demands of Lil Nas X. Don't tell him he needs to do anything for black people. Why? He's done enough already. I agree. He's done enough damage already. And of course, I'm sure you probably noticed that he's surrounded by a bunch of white people. The people at his table are almost all white. The men behind him, no pun intended, are all white. Yep, masters prefer to keep a close eye on their property. You have the richest corporations on the planet using their money and their media monopoly to try to invent reality out of thin air. Nobody looks at Lil Nas X and sees anything other than a clown. But this variety sideshow wasn't done yet. They also decided to heap some praise on a couple of stripper-looking thoughts calling themselves city girls. Maybe I've just reached a certain age where I'm simply behind the times and out of touch, but I don't think so. I don't even know who these clowns are. Apparently they were given some made-up phony award called the Future is Female Award, presented by Motown Records, believe it or not. God, I wish I was making that part up. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Somehow we've gone from the Jackson 5 to City Girls. That's the award the Variety gave them, the Future is Female Award. I don't know anything about these two because, well, look at them. But apparently they're trying to beat Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and Megan Thee Stallion for the raunchiest Thoughts of the Year award. And if you want more proof that this satanic carnival pretending to be a society is damned, they put out a song a couple of years ago called Twerkulator. The kind of crap that normally would be confined only to the strip clubs and such, they're deciding they want to mainstream this, but only where black folks are concerned. You know, we don't need whorehouse culture becoming black culture, but that's exactly what the white media is attempting to foist off onto us. This is the level of the mentality that Variety is attempting to put on a pedestal. Wait, let me correct that. This is the level of the mentality that Variety wants you to put on a pedestal. The white media doesn't value these morons at all. They don't consider this to have any artistic merit whatsoever. They know how destructive this kind of whorehouse culture is, which is why they're trying to push it at us. As I've explained a number of times, awards are a way for a society to bestow instant stature onto something or someone, instant importance. Why, these two thoughts must be important, otherwise, why would someone be giving them an award and letting these two brain-dead chicken heads make a little speech? Well, the white men who run white supremacy, they don't care what these two have to say because it doesn't matter. They're puppets to be used against us. It's a way for a society to validate that this person or this accomplishment is a genuinely valuable and legitimately worthy endeavor. But the society didn't come up with these awards, nor did the society have anything to do with choosing who the winners are. These awards and who they're given to are decided solely by a tiny handful of white power brokers who use these awards as a way of manipulating public thinking. It's a way to credentialize people who the rest of the society would either heap scorn on or just ignore altogether. The fact that anyone would say city girls and award in the same sentence is ludicrous on its face, but because white supremacy can invent awards and phony titles, they can turn their fiction into other people's reality. Awards in and of themselves are not necessarily evil, but we have to understand that we live in a world where the bad guys are in charge, and the foundation of their power is the ability to control our minds. This is how they dictate to you what to think, what you should think is important. This is how they dictate and choose winners and losers. Take a look at Agent DuVernay. She has spent her entire adult life making TV shows and movies that run black men into the ground. She wears her hatred and contempt for black men like a badge of honor. And why not? The white media companies that she depends on for every crumb of her daily bread have the same attitude. She's just like them. You see, the Agent DuVernays and the Lee Daniels and the little Nas X's and the City Girls, they didn't get captured by the system. It's not as if a gang of these white media white supremacists pounced upon these innocent little Negroes who went mindlessly wandering into their domain. These guys sought these clowns out. The Agent DuVernays and the little Nas X's, they sought out these white supremacist media moguls so they could suck up to them. No matter what pathetic CYA diversions these people like to do, as in the instance of Agent DuVernay when they see us, it doesn't change what she is. She only puts that out there for the same reason that white liberals will do the occasional insincere racial make-good segment on this or that cable TV network. It's so that they have something they can point to whenever you make an accusation against them, because that's part of the game. When you have no excuse for anti-black racism, you have to make one up. And when you have billions of white media dollars at your disposal and a bunch of white-owned movie studios and TV stations that you control, and you can saturate the entire planet with your propaganda all day, every day, then manufacturing excuses for yourself becomes easy. Because for every one when they see us, you're steadily pushing out 50 times as much material like Insincere or Queen Sugar or Harlem, showing black men as hopeless, incompetent, down and out, as maliciously inept, justifying every racial stereotype and saying loudly and clearly to the world that black men aren't worthy of respect and black women have no morals that anyone should consider. The aggregate result of all of this garbage media is that you have a lot of black people who are trying to live in these white media-generated fantasies. This is what in large part fuels a number of dysfunctions and insecurities and hang-ups that the black community has been saddled with. We were largely conditioned to be this way, and we continue to condition ourselves by going back to the exact same poisoned wells set up by our oppressors. But it takes two to tango, and we need to take responsibility for that. While the Agent DuVernays and the little Nas X's and the Lee Daniels and the Issa Raes are getting a paycheck by deceiving black people, the white supremacist media moguls that they work for aren't fooled at all, and neither is the dominant society. Too many of us live on social media, or we live on TV. Black people as a group are oversampled when it comes to TV viewing. That means that we disproportionately watch TV more compared to other racial groups. Look, let's be honest. Being black in the current state of affairs hurts because of our current condition. But we have absolutely no chance in hell of changing that condition until we decide that that's going to be our focus. Before we can take control of the situation, we have to first take control of ourselves. And that begins with controlling what it is that we watch and what we see. We have to make it a point that we do not have time for foolishness like Lil Nas X, or for mind rot like anything that comes from trash like Agent DuVernay, or Issa Rae, or Lee Daniels, or any of these other clowns. You know what real black media looks like. You know what the good stuff is. It is important that you be as passionate about the things that you embrace as you are about the things that you reject. That's why the new voices of black media are here, because you made that possible. We don't need any trophies or statuettes or award shows to validate us. You have already given us our legitimacy. Lil Nas X is an invention of the white media. We are an invention of the black grassroots. And if history is any guide, we already know who's going to get the last word. And that's going to be the most gratifying award of all. Good day, and be one.